happened to me, but don't tell her that. But nobody out there say anything.
And of course, Cindy is your lovely wife.
Yes, and we got married in July of 1978, and we found out, we came up here to Tennessee and lived for the summer between my first and second year of law school, and found out that we were going to be having a child.
Wow, a blessing.
I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but it turned out great. It really did. But that was one of my best memories. I had several jobs while I was in school. And one of them, my favorite job, was I was actually what they call a houseboy at a sorority house. And what you did was you went over and you served meals, so you got your meals for free. You didn't have to pay for the cafeteria or whatever, and it was good food too. But we got that, and then if the girls, needed a picture hung in their dorm room, or had a problem with something that needed fixing, we would take care of that for them. That was my favorite job. I got to know a lot of people doing that, and I was even, this is not to brag, but I'm proud of it. So I was named the Zeta Tau Alpha sorority, but actually they called themselves a fraternity, Man of the Year in 1976.
One of the things that you mentioned that really caught my interest was you said that your father was an attorney, but that you had chosen to go into biology and that situation. Tell me about how your father reacted when you told him, I decided I don't want to follow in your footsteps. I'm going to go on this different path. And then tell us how he felt and reacted once you decided, no, I think I'm going to go to law school.
Well, my dad, if he was ever disappointed in my decision, to go into the sciences, he never made it known. He was good with whatever I wanted to do, whatever I felt like was going to make me happy, and it wasn't like I was telling him I was going to get a degree in underwater basket weaving or whatever. So he did not seem to be disappointed in the fact that I was going into the sciences. I didn't know what I was going to do after that. If I did well enough in school, there were many options, medical school, get a PhD, become a professor, be a teacher. There were just a lot of options that were open to me. But when I called him to tell him, hey, I'm thinking I want to change my major, he, I think, was very happy, because then we would get to work together, do some things together. And I've always said, Paul, that if you have your dad, every man needs to work for his dad at least one time in his life.
Well, tell us about when you worked with your dad.
Well, I was mainly in law school, and it was kind of a roundabout way. He had a law school classmate named Barrett Clisby, who had a law firm there on the square in Oxford, Mississippi, where Ole Miss is. So when I started my second year, I started clerking for him, and my dad and Barrett would do cases together, and Barrett had a little private airplane I helped him build a hangar for, and he would take me flying, and if we went on any long distance trips, he would usually fly us there. So that was really neat. But we worked, of course I couldn't actually represent somebody, but I could go and help. And like with Barrett, I had one situation where he asked me to write a brief on a federal case, and I wrote the brief for him. He said he'd look it over, pay me to do it and look it over, and if it was okay, he'd put his name on it and turn it in. And he did, and I actually won my motion.
Wow.
However, our client didn't win the war, because the court then said, yes, sir, the motion's well taken, but there was so much other evidence of guilt that we're going to let the judgment stand. So.
Wow. Now, listening to you, it sounds like that organic chemistry may have been one of the motivators for you to go to law school. And I realize it wasn't that simple. What was the motivators that caused you to want to go to law school?
Well, Paul, I knew I wanted to be some kind of professional, whether it was a lawyer, a doctor, a businessman. My actual goal when I decided to go to law school was, this is kind of funny, you probably don't know this about me, but when I decided to go to law school, I decided I wanted to be a corporate attorney. I was never going to go into a courtroom. I was never going to represent criminals. I was going to be president of a big company one day. And I got out and got a job as corporate counsel and spent about 1.5 years doing that. And I came home from work one day and Cindy said, "How was your day?" And I looked at her and said, "I think I ruined my life." And she said, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Well, I got everything just like I wanted it, just like I planned it. I took all the business classes I could in law school, business-related classes in law school, and I don't think, I'm usually a pretty happy, upbeat person, and I don't think I've ever been that depressed in my life. It just was not a good fit for me. So I did it for 5 years before I came to Murfreesboro and joined up with the old Burgerfly and McFarland firm. And Brad Hornsby over there told me, he said, "You need to get your name on the criminal appointment." This was before the public defender's office, by the way. "Need to get your name on the criminal appointments list. You won't make a lot of money, but it may get you some clients." So that's what I did, and discovered in the very first jury trial, which I tried against Bill Weitzel, by the way, and I can tell you more about that if you want to hear. I called my dad up the night before the trial was supposed to start, and I called him Pop. I said, "Pop, you got any sage advice for me on the eve of my first criminal jury trial and without missing a beat?" He said, "Yes, sir. Go in there tomorrow and have fun. You're not the one going to jail." So that has stood me in good stead. Now, I still take it seriously, every one of my cases, but that kind of takes a little of the pressure off of you.
Well, I know, because I've been in the courtroom and seen you in action, and I know that juries love you because you have such an effective and warm communication skill. But tell us a little bit about, number one, what brought you to Murfreesboro? And then I'm going to ask you about the public defender's office.
Okay. Well, like I said, when I graduated from law school that morning, got admitted to the bar that afternoon on a Saturday in May in 1983, I had the truck loaded. We got up the next morning, truck, trailer, and all of that, and moved to Tennessee. We were originally going to try to find a house in Davidson County, and we just could not find anything there that was within our price range and all. So Cindy had one of those real estate magazines. This is back before Google and all that. She had a real estate magazine that had an ad for a new development in Smyrna. And so we went there, looked. She fell in love with the model home. We got all the paperwork done. And then when we moved here, we actually lived, her parents have a farm down in Chapel Hill. And we actually lived in their farmhouse for about 2 weeks while they finished up our house in Smyrna. It was a small house, starter house. And when we found out that she was pregnant with Drew, who is my now law partner, didn't know when I went to the hospital to see him that day, I met my law partner. But we got to looking around, and there was just no room in that house. Christmas was coming up. I knew the grandparents were going to be loading them up with toys. So we looked and found a bigger house in Murfreesboro. That's how I wound up here. When I finally decided I just can't do the corporate anymore, I told Cindy, I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not going to be driving back and forth to Nashville."
And a few minutes later, or into the broadcast, we will ask you about the public defender's job, but I wanted to remind the audience that my special guest today is Murfreesboro attorney Rusty Perkins. And when we return, we will continue our discussion of not only his outstanding legal career, but also the Tennessee law regarding wills, probate matters, and powers of attorney.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS. on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
Hey guys, if you've noticed a lack of energy, motivation, and drive, it could be low T. Schedule your health assessment at Low T Center, where they now offer the convenience of monitored self-inject at-home testosterone treatments for only $155 a month cash pay or covered by most health insurance. If you don't live near a Low T Center or just need the convenience of at-home treatment, Low T Center makes it easy to get started on treatment. Only your first 2 visits are in person. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book online. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Medicare open enrollment is here. Do you want to sit down with someone and review your coverages for the upcoming year? We'd love to see you. Call Cover My Assets Insurance Group today so we can make an appointment for your policy review. Our services are free and we can even come to you. We are a local agency that puts our community first. Find us on Facebook or visit our website at covermyassets.com. That's covermyassets.com.
Adam's Place was a very, very good thing for us to do at our ages or earlier, because I would have been more able to do a lot of the things that are here for us to help us keep feeling younger.
Now, consider this.
I saw this young lady with her father, and she said, yeah, I'm trying to convince my dad that it's better to move in 5 years earlier than 5 minutes too late.
I'm Terry Deal. Call me about Adam's Place, 1927 Memorial Boulevard, across from Walmart.
Call Adam's Place today, 615-904-9111.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
I've got pests, bees, buzzing rodents running all through my house. Ants chewing wood, and look, there's a mouse. I'm overrun with pests, but you're gonna be sure, safe and secure. It's the last rites for those pests. Call the best of the best to get rid of your pests.
893-7111. AmeriCare Services Incorporated. Call us today. 893-7111.
WGNS reminds you to shop local. That helps our local economy. And if you live within the city limits of Murfreesboro, the city will pick up those fall leaves if you stack them right there on the street. Or if you want to put them along with yard waste into a bag, they'll pick those up if the bags are biodegradable. And the city of Murfreesboro will do this through January. It's a big weekend ahead. Zombies are at the Laverne Veterans Memorial Park this Saturday. 2 until 4 Saturday afternoon for the younger kids, and the older ones, the fun starts at 5. That's all at the Veterans Memorial Park in Laverne, and it is free. And Borough International comes to the Patterson Community Center this Saturday from 11 o'clock in the morning until 3 in the afternoon. Celebrate the many cultures that make up the heart of Tennessee. The admission is free, and so is the parking. That's this Saturday from 11 until 3 at the Patterson Community Center. And it's the last weekend for Smoke on the Mountain at the Springhouse Theater in Smyrna. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Good neighbor weather. Partial sunshine develops this afternoon, a high in the upper 50s. Northwest winds of 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, cloudy, a low near 43. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 49.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric. United Communications, NTE's internet company, keeps growing. It announced in August a multi-year project expansion. It will create 1,400 route miles of new fiber optic lines capable of delivering multi-gig internet service.
This is J. Paul Newman, and you're listening to the Monday edition of the Roundtable. As we welcome back to the WGNS microphones from the law firm of Perkins and Jones, Murfreesboro attorney Rusty Perkins, and we are discussing the Tennessee law regarding wills, probate matters, and powers of attorney. For the purposes of discussing these topics, I am going to present a hypothetical situation. These facts have no relation to any specific person, living or deceased. Our hypothetical situation is centered around an elderly widow. She owns a couple of homes. She lives in one home, and she rented the other home to one of her sons, whom I will refer to as the tenant son hereafter. Her tenant son and the widow only had an oral agreement regarding the rental property. There was no written lease. The tenant son is in his 50s and has adult children. The tenant son had been separated from his wife for many years, but he had never moved forward with a divorce. The tenant son also allows his new girlfriend to move into the rental home with him, and they have been in the rental home for several months. A few weeks ago, in the early morning hours, the rental son suffers a heart attack and dies. The now deceased rental son has died without a will. And when the deceased son's children and his mother attempt to repossess the rental property, the girlfriend insists that she is not moving out and that she would have to be evicted. The grieving family is slow to act, and the girlfriend begins to sell property from the home, items that were the sole property of the deceased, including a vehicle that was titled in the deceased name only. After the funeral, the widow tries to enter the deceased son's home, which she owns, and is told by the girlfriend and the police that she cannot enter the property. The widow then calls for advice. I want to break this fact pattern into smaller parts and see what the widow's current situation is and what actions she should now take. And I also want to use this situation to pose a series of questions. Questions designed to help our listeners possibly avoid these problems in their lives. Before we begin the discussion, I want to make this disclaimer. The questions asked by me and the answers provided by my guest are for entertainment purposes only. All cases are fact and law dependent, and each case has different facts and possibly different applications of the law. You should not consider these questions nor the answers as legal advice. If you need answers to these or similar questions, always consult with an attorney who practices law in the topic area at issue and in the appropriate jurisdiction. We now welcome to the WGNS microphones again, Murfreesboro attorney Rusty Perkins. Rusty, welcome back to the program. I know that was a long set of facts, and if you need them repeated or any questions about them, I'll be glad to do that. But my first question is, was it a good idea for the widow to rent without a written lease, even to the family member? And when you do not have a written lease in Tennessee, explain to our audience what the situation is regarding that rental transaction that I have just outlined.
Okay. I can tell you from that example you gave there, Paul, that you are a good law professor, because that I don't think I've seen a question that good on any of my law school exams, although it's been a long time, so may have. But the first question, the widow, if there was never a will done, she actually has more rights than some people might think. Even though this gentleman in the example was living with someone else, if they never formalized their arrangement, then and he never divorced the one we're calling the widow, then she would have the superior interest in any of his property. Now, since it was intestate, this is why, or I'm sorry, I should define that. That simply just means when you die without a will, it's called an intestate estate. But in this particular situation, you can see that even though this was a mother-son relationship, she should have had some kind of lease, just a simple lease. You never want to give property to someone or lease property to someone or sell property to someone without the proper paperwork. You can do it, but then you might get in a mess like this.
And let me ask you this. When you don't have a written lease in Tennessee, does Tennessee follow the Landlord and Tenant Act?
It's you are a tenant at will. Basically a month-to-month tenant. And so in this example that you've given us, the widow probably, or even the mom, if the property is still in the mom's name, could go in and get a detainer warrant from the judge, basically saying this person, we've given them notice. Now, you do have to give them notice. And then you go into court, and the judge asks, if they paid the rent or what the situation is. And then if he orders them to leave and they don't leave, like this lady obviously didn't want to leave, then the sheriff can actually come out with that warrant, take everything out of the house and set it out on the street. And it's kind of up to that person to do something.
And let me ask you this. You mentioned the detainer warrant, and you said that they had to give notice. Should that notice be in writing, and should it be kind of a formal letter? The perfect scenario, I'm sure, is to have an attorney send that. But at a minimum, should it at least be registered and have to be signed for?
It should be, at bare minimum, it should be in writing, sent certified mail with return receipt requested. And that way you know that the person got it. Or if they refuse to accept it, then they mark that, and you can go back and it has the same effect as if they had actually taken it, signed for it, and they would have been served, basically.
I know that one of the situations where people quite often get in trouble in these type of situations is they get upset. They don't want to go through the legal process. They don't want to hire an attorney. They really do need to hire an attorney. Sometimes they will try to do self-help. Some people will say, well, I'm going to just cut off the water. I'm going to cut off the utilities and the electricity. Why is that such a bad idea?
Because you can actually take a good position and make it a bad position for yourself by doing things like that. When you come into court, you want to have what the law calls clean hands. You want to be able to show that judge, in our case here in Rutherford County, Judge Gilley, you want to be sure you've shown him that you followed every rule and done everything that you're supposed to do. But I'm a firm believer, always have been, even before I started practicing law, paper trail is what is important. You've got to send the notices so that you have a paper trail, I call it. Probably not so much paper anymore since we've got digital communications and all of that, but you need something to show that you sent it and that they received it. And if you can keep that paper trail, you're good.
Now let's talk a little bit more about the fact that the son died intestate without a will. When you die intestate, how does your property pass? And let's assume for this scenario that he has a mother who survives and he has a child. Where does that property go? And does the girlfriend get any of that property under our intestate succession laws?
Well, as your disclaimer said, this is not meant to be legal advice. And when people call me up and say, hey, how much is this going to cost me? I say, look, if you were calling me to build a fence in your backyard, wanted to know how much it cost, I'd have to ask you how big's your backyard.
Yes.
So I'm not saying that, this is what someone in that position would have to do. But I always advise my clients, especially the ones who come in to see me about wills and probates and that kind of thing, that when you pass, you are going to have a will, either one that you wrote for yourself, hopefully with an attorney so that it, meets all the requirements, or the state is going to write one for you in an intestate estate. So what basically would happen in a nutshell, the girlfriend would have no superior rights, so she probably wouldn't take anything. The wife would take at minimum 40% of the estate, and then if there are other heirs, children, or anything like that, they would take a portion also. What you have to do is there's this, if you like things like I do, I enjoy like puzzles, and so there's this intestate chart that basically you start down and it tells you who, then you go across. If you don't find any of those, then you can go up on this chart. But they're going to figure out, the law does not like for this property to be in flux. So they're going to figure out somebody to get that property to.
And I know that a lot of people, for some reason, they think that if they get a will done, they're going to die. Or I guess it makes them focus on the possibility of death. It's probably a better way of putting it. But we always recommend that everyone have a will. And a lot of people are looking for ways to avoid the will. What are some of the ways that you can minimize the effects of not having a will?
The biggest way that you can do it, J. Paul, and I know our time is running short here on this segment, but the biggest way you can do it is if you have someone you really trust, a spouse, a child, someone who is going to do the right thing, or at least you have every reason to believe they're going to do the right thing, then put everything in jointly. If you own a bank account, have your spouse on it, of course, maybe even a child. If you have an insurance policy, name your wife as the beneficiary of that. If you have anything payable on death, do it that way. And that way, you don't even have to go to court. It just all automatically transfers. The only thing that you go to court for is stuff that's in the person who is deceased's name and nobody else's.
And you mentioned debts, and my next question is, who is responsible for making burial arrangements under that situation that I gave? And what about the outstanding bills and, of course, taxes?
The administrator. In a testate estate where you have a will, someone is named as executor or executrix. In an intestate estate, you appoint what's called an administrator, and the administrator is responsible for gathering everything together, paying everything, making sure it's distributed, whatever's left is distributed like it's supposed to, and then once you can swear, the administrator can swear that's been done, you go in, the judge signs off on it, and the estate is closed.
And if someone dies without a will, does someone still have to go to probate court, or can the estate be so small that that's not done? Well,
now, there is a small estate statute in Tennessee. If you have an estate of $50,000 or less, not counting real estate, you do not put any real estate in with that $50,000 figure, then you can go through. It's a little more expedited process, but you still have to do the estate.
And some people think, okay, this is going to cost me a lot of money. And I assume if you've got a whole lot in your estate, it might come into quite a bit of money. But for the typical simple will, just the average person, can you give us kind of a ballpark figure of what it would cost to have a will prepared?
I can't speak for other attorneys, but I can tell you what we do in our office. If someone came in to me today and said, I need a simple will, I just need to leave everything to my husband, him leave everything to me, I want to give little Mary grandmom's wedding rings, I want to give little Johnny grandpa's shotgun, that's just a simple will. You write that up. Our charge, if that's all you want, is just $500. We also have what we call a will package, which in addition to that simple will, we do a springing durable general power of attorney so that if that person becomes incapacitated but doesn't die, that person, the attorney, in fact, can do it. And then we also have a durable medical power of attorney, which obviously that's to make medical decisions if the person is not able to. And then the living will, or the advanced directives, that package, we charge $1,500 for that. Normally $500 a piece, it'd be $2,000, but if you get it all done at one time, we're going to give you a little break on it.
Let's talk a little bit more in detail about the powers of attorney, because a lot of people wonder about powers of attorney. Can you explain what a power of attorney is, how long it lasts, and the different types of powers of attorney and what they're designed to do?
That's going to take me a minute.
Okay.
I know that we might be a little running a little over, but hopefully I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest first. Nobody probably remembers Reader's Digest, but
I do.
you do. I know. That's why I love being with you, J. Paul. We've had so many similar experiences. It's like old home week every time I'm with you. But basically, a power of attorney is so strong that there has to be a disclaimer under Tennessee law given, and you have to sign off on it if you're signing a power of attorney, that it's a full page typed that says, basically, in a nutshell, if you sign this, you're giving the person that you're naming as your attorney in fact absolute control over everything you own. I mean, it's almost so bad that they could come sell everything that you have, move your bed out into a ditch, and take everything. Now, that doesn't practically happen because you still have to act within the person's best interest. But it is a very, very powerful. It is only good during life. If someone becomes so incapacitated they can't take care of their own business, then the attorney in fact takes care of it. As soon as that person either passes or becomes competent again, it goes away, and that person resumes their taking care of their business.
So let's go back to the scenario that I had presented at the beginning of this segment. Let's say, and add to that scenario, that the live-in girlfriend is aware that the deceased, the person who passed away, had a storage facility, and the storage facility housed his personal property and also housed some of his business property, and that it was solely in his name. Can she go to that storage facility after his death and present a power of attorney and use that power of attorney to gain access to the property that belonged to the deceased?
No, sir, not if the person has died. A power of attorney is only good while the person is still alive. So she would not be able to do that. If she was going to get it, he was still alive but was incapacitated, and she presents a false or fraudulent power of attorney, she's got a lot more problems. And if somebody lets her in that storage unit and lets her take stuff, they've got problems too, because only a person who is on that lease with the deceased or the person who's incapacitated can go in there and get anything.
My special guest today is Murfreesboro attorney Rusty Perkins, and when we return, we will continue our discussion of not only his outstanding legal career, but also the Tennessee law regarding wills, probate matters, and powers of attorney.
Hi, this is Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates. You might know me as the voice of the Blue Raiders, but I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. Whether you're buying or selling, it's time to choose Chip. Do you have a growing family and need to upsize? Are you an empty nester now and need to downsize? Are you thinking of selling your current home but just worried you can't find something else? Well, it's time to choose Chip. I'm looking to be your trusted advisor in real estate. I'm Chip Walters with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates.
Finding that missing shin guard, remembering whether it's a home or away game, getting the right kid to the right playing field on the right day. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple so you can worry about more important things, like not being that fan.
Oh, come on, ref!
That's simple human sense.
Rayburn Insurance in Smyrna.
Come see me, Rick Hall, at Rayburn Insurance in downtown Smyrna today.
Weight loss has always been a struggle for me, but thanks to Magnolia Medical Center, the semaglutide injection has helped me to lose 60 pounds, and I've actually kept it off.
Magnolia Medical Center can help. This is Dr. David Morris with Magnolia Medical Center in Murfreesboro, online at magnoliamedicalcenters.com.
Here at Bud's Tire, we make buying Michelin tires simpler. I'm Allison Mitchell with Bud's Tire Pros. We offer a straightforward approach to service, including nationwide warranties with every purchase. Stop in today to see our full lineup of Michelin and BF Goodrich tires. For whatever you drive, Michelin and BF Goodrich have a tire to fit any need. Bud's Tire Pros, hassle-free, guaranteed. We're located on East Main Street, exactly 3 miles from the town square, 1 mile past Rutherford Boulevard. Visit us online at budstirepros.tn.com.
This is the gift season, and Bell Jewelers is your gift headquarters. Hi, this is Trevor Tidwell at Bell Jewelers. One of those gifts might be a Pandora charm, bracelet, earrings. We have a Pandora department at Bell Jewelers, so we have all your Pandora needs. And speaking of gifts, do not forget about the men. We have Seiko, Longines, pre-owned Rolexes, and William Henry knives. If you really wanted to personalize that gift, we can engrave it. Bell Jewelers, 821 Northwest Broad, across from Toots.
This Halloween during our clown town, The Awakening, the ghouls at Splashes, a frightful car wash filled with ghosts and angry clowns, stand ready to give you the fright of your life.
Find Splashes Car Wash Halloween schedule on Facebook under Splashies.
Middle Tennessee football fans, are you ready to score big? We have an unbeatable ticket offer that will blow your mind. Experience the thrill of the game with sideline reserved seats for only $24 or end zone reserved seats for just $18. Join us inside Floyd Stadium for an unforgettable home MTSU football game. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity to witness our favorite local team in action. Get your tickets now and be a part of the excitement. Head to goblueraiders.com/tickets to purchase yours and secure your spot at the game. Go Blue Raiders!
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at WGNSradio.com.
This is J. Paul Newman, and you are listening to the Monday edition of the Roundtable, as we welcome back to the WGNS microphones from the law firm of Perkins and Jones, Murfreesboro attorney Rusty Perkins. And before we go straight to Rusty, we have a couple of text questions, and we're going to have our producer pose those questions.
Okay, here we go. First question here. First question is, I have children from my first marriage, and I don't have a will. I've remarried. I want to leave stuff for my older children if I pass. Does my current wife have to see a will if I make one?
Well, that actually is a simple answer. No, not at the time the will is made. However, if the will does go into probate, then the wife is probably going to see it then. And of course, going into probate means you go to court and you can present evidence. And if the judge decides that you are entitled to something, he can order that. But as far as when the will is done, no, you don't have to show it to anybody.
Okay. Another question, if someone has dementia and they have CDs or accounts with their granddaughter named as power of attorney, can the granddaughter withdraw the money from the grandmother's account?
Yes. Anytime that you have a valid power of attorney. Now, if the granddaughter went to grandma while she was incapacitated, in other words, she had dementia to such a degree that she could not effectively give consent, then that would not be honored. But if it's something from 10 years ago before anybody ever knew that she had dementia, then yes, that's one of the things about a power of attorney. It gives that attorney, in fact, a whole lot of power.
Sounds good. J. Paul?
Yes. Rusty, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. And we want to remind the audience that our questions and answers are for entertainment purposes. If they have specific questions, they need to consult with an attorney that practices in the area of the law that they are talking about.
That is exactly correct, J. Paul. And in addition to that, I will say I take the position in my office that I will not give anyone legal advice until, number one, I have been hired, and number two, I have gathered all of the facts that I feel like are necessary to be able to give a good legal opinion. If short of that, I'll just have to send you somewhere else because we are not supposed to give legal advice to people we don't represent.
And Rusty, where is the law firm of Perkins and Jones located?
We are at 501 Northwest Broad Street. And the way I always tell people to get there is most people know where the Dodge store is here in Murfreesboro on Broad Street. We are across the street from the Dodge store on the corner of Northwest Broad and West Main. Its last iteration was a place called Nature's Elite, which I think was herbs and, vitamins and stuff like that. And we went in and built it out, and we've been there about a year and a half now.
And what are the areas of the law that your firm engages in?
Well, again, J. Paul, you'll understand this, but back when I was growing up and a young man, we called doctors GPs, general practitioners, and that meant they could sew up a cut, they could put a cast on your leg, they could kind of read x-rays, just a little bit of everything. And that's kind of what we do at our law firm. We do criminal defense. We do wills, obviously, and estates and probate. We do just basically, if you call us up and say, this is what I've got, can you help me? We'll be able to tell you, yes, we can, or no, we can't, but here's somebody you can call and see if they can help you.
And does your office have a website? And do you want to give your phone number?
Oh, absolutely. Our phone number is 615-410-3064. Our website is Borough, BOROTN, law, all one word, .com.
And do you practice exclusively in Rutherford County, or do you reach into other counties and other areas?
No, sir. We practice in all surrounding counties. We go to Wilson County, Coffee County. I think Mike was in Tullahoma the other day. So there might be some places we don't go. Clarksville would be a long way for us to go, and would probably cost someone a lot of money with travel time and all. But we'll go.
And I know that you practice in all the adult courts, but do you also practice or go to juvenile court?
Yes, we do. Now, I haven't been back to juvenile court very much since I went back into private practice, but for a time I was the designated, and this was early on in the public defender's office, I was the designated assistant public defender. That came about because my boss, Gerald Melton, came to me one day and said, I don't like doing juvenile, and I'm not going to go to juvenile.
And I want you to tell me, what is the greatest challenge or stressful situation that you face regularly as a practicing attorney?
Well, obviously, the most stressful would be a death penalty case, but there hasn't been one of those in a long time. Every case has its stress moments because as attorneys, we take on other people's problems, and they become ours. So that causes some stress.
And we're going to go now to Brian, who I believe has another text question.
Yeah, another quick question. Someone was calling about probate, and is the price of the probate part of the will? So let's say that the will is contested. Is that covered by the estate? How does all of that work? Is that part of the whole process?
Well, I guess I'll give a two-part answer quickly. In a situation where you have someone who just has a simple probate matter, we're usually able to give a standard price, just what it's going to cost from start to finish. If it is something that's going to involve a lot of time, then we get a retainer and bill against it hourly.
Okay, and if that goes, I think their question was more if it goes to court and there is a contesting of the will, are there costs that can be incurred, or is that part of the estate or the will process or whatnot?
Absolutely. There are costs that are going to be involved in any contested will. As a matter of fact, most people, when they find out how much it's going to cost them to contest it, they change their minds. But if you do have costs, you would have to do discovery, you'd have to hire court reporters, you'd have to hire expert witnesses probably, and all of that is charged in addition to the hourly rate for the fees. So I've seen, probates cost over $10,000 just for the attorney's fees.
All right.
And Rusty, I believe, unfortunately, we have run out of time. But I want to thank you for the tremendous service that you and the law firm of Perkins & Jones provides to the citizens of our community. You have been listening to The Roundtable on your good neighbor station, WGNS. As we end our program today, we thank WGNS for providing the airtime. And we thank our producers, Scott Walker and Brian Barrett. And we also thank our special guest from the law firm of Perkins & Jones, Murfreesboro attorney Rusty Perkins. Most of all, we thank you for listening. In my closing moments, I also want to invite you to tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the Tuesday edition of the Roundtable. The Tuesday Roundtable is hosted by Wayne Blair and Rick Hall, and they will be talking all things Smyrna. And please remember to tune in for my next appearance on the Roundtable. That will be next Monday morning, October the 17th at 9 a.m. My guest that day will be Murfreesboro attorney Terry Fan from the law offices of Waldron and Fan. And we will discuss many important legal topics, as well as his tremendous legal career. This is a show that you do not want to miss, so make your plans to be with us on October the 17th at 9 a.m. on your good neighbor station, WGNS. And please do not touch the dial, because coming up after the break is one of WGNS's most popular hours. It's Rutherford Issues with Brian Barrett. We leave by saying, stay safe, stay healthy, stay involved, and please stay informed. This is J. Paul Newman, wishing everyone a blessed day.
Premier 6 Theater on Broad in Jackson Heights.
Let's all go to the